Hi there, welcome back to Tyranny. It's Judgment Day and we are the law. We are due to visit Tunon, our master, who sent us out. But first, let's see who we can speak with at Tunon's court. Strange nobles? I haven't seen the north in years, neither have you, I warrant. Lady Lucretius. Yeah, I'm akin to talking to everyone. Of course, we want to find out. We're the law, right? We need to know everything, so let's go. This well-dressed older woman stands apart from the milling crowds of nobles. She stares off into the distance, oblivious to your approach, until you're right in front of her. Oh, greetings. She offers a reserved smile. Anda Lucretius, formerly of Thistleholm. You have the look of someone who belongs here, a fate binder, no doubt. She nods. Do you need something for me? What are all of these nobles doing in Tunon's court? She smirks and shakes her head. Trying to look brave, I warrant, but if you crane an ear to any of their conversations, you will hear a different tale. 3 years since Tunon set up shop in the bastard city. We're still getting used to our new masters and figuring out what we can and can't ask of them. She nods to the assembled nobles. These are smart, ring-plenty folk. The way they approach Tunon, you'd think they were raised under a tyrant's lash. Some have come to settle a grievance, others to pledge fealty. I've been standing around long enough to know that the educator doesn't care for empty gestures. Interesting. How has the bastard city fared since the conquest? Kyros' forces took the city as we expected them to. Without mercy or restraint, the Scarlet Chorus spilled more blood than we had to give. The disfavored took their share of slaves after the gates of judgment. It was a dark day when we watched our countrymen hauling supplies for the Overlord. We've suffered our share of hardships, but it seems that Kyros wants us alive. That's a more generous outcome than some of us were led to believe. And what brings you specifically to Tunon's court? A frown cracks her pleasant demeanor. Like the rest of the frightened inbreds here, I came to see Tunon and ask him to right a wrong. My manor was destroyed during the conquest. I told the educator my woes, but we didn't exactly see eye to eye. Interesting. I mean, we're a judge, so we should be able to solve this. What is Thistleholm? A great sigh deflates her. It was my family's ancestral hall. The oldest stones dated back to the years when Bastard City was gnawed by a dozen roofs and wagons clustering for warmth. Compared to the houses of the great lords, it was nothing special. Age had softened the wood, and its queer placement in the warehouse district set it apart from the finer grounds, where lords and ladies strolled for amusement. It was a mess, but our mess all the same. I would invite you over for tea, something stronger even, but it would only disappoint. You'll find naught there but a gaping hole. So your home was in the warehouse district? You must understand that Thistleholm predated the city districts. My grandmother was also a persistent woman. Merchants storing salted cod and lamprey eggs on the adjoining grounds were no cause for her to budge from her spot. What happened that there's a hole there? Collateral damage happened. When the educator cast his judgment on the bastard city, he destroyed the districts of the corrupt merchant kings, their manors, their counting houses, and yes, their warehouses. Aged, dignified Thistleholm collapsed as a massive sinkhole opened under her foundation. The bastard city's laws may not have been perfect by Kyros' standards, but my family followed them with respect and never took a copper ring more than we deserved. I can't help but feel that my estate was not the criminal Tunon had in mind during his sentencing. She might be right. We're going to investigate. But I mean, collateral damage happens. But it might be that we could do something for her. Maybe give her some house of another noble that is maybe not as innocent. So what are you going to do next? That's the question, isn't it? I appealed to the educator, thinking he would see reason. After considering my case for all of 8 seconds, he awarded me a belt of rings and a plot of land on the outskirts of the city. Oh, it seems like that was something good he did, right? Tunon told me to build a new and start farming. Farming? Can you believe that? She shakes her head. It's not even that I'm opposed to the labor, but we're in the war. I can't have the Scarlet Chorus breathing down my neck, raiding my crops, and Kyros knows what else. I mean, I think that was something... That was a reasonable thing under the law. Huh. But yeah, I mean, she's right. We have just experienced that ourselves. The Scarlet Chorus are dogs. I suggest you use those rings to higher protection. And isn't that the most backward cycle of ring trading I've ever heard? But it casts a light on something I've been thinking while I stand here, watching Tunon go about his business. I come from a long line of smart ring-savvy merchants, but even I can't reconcile Tunon's justice with Kyros' law. There's something wrong about it all. Maybe Tunon knows something I don't, or maybe she trails off, shaking her head in doubt. You presume to know more of justice than the educator? No, it's not that at all. I'm saying that I don't understand Kyros' law as well as I thought I did. Maybe none of us do. People come here for justice. They usually get a version of it, but it's Tunon's version, not theirs. Half of the time, they don't even get what they wanted out of a ruling in their favor. She shakes her head. The deed to a farm, for instance. Not to put my own ignorance on display, but if more people knew how Kyros' laws worked, they might not come here seeking a ruling at all, even a fair one. Tunon is a servant of law, but he's the Overlord's vassal as much as any of us. Sometimes it seems like he uses his position to twist everything in the Empire's favor. We're just pieces on a board, and he can move us wherever the law justifies that we stand. That doesn't sound, well, legal. We could press some money out of her. Her rings. I can only endeavor to bring true justice to the tears. That would be something, but I mean, Tunon is... We're really bound to Tunon. Should know better than to speak ill of the educator in my presence. No, the educator doesn't care. So we don't need to protect him. Kyros defines the law. That isn't for either of us to question. Yeah, that is definitely the thing. That or bringing true justice. Tunon isn't one to change his mind. Unfair as it might seem, the ruling stands. That is also true. But we don't want to show Tunon in a bad light. We're going for Kyros defines law. Because Kyros is like the highest authority. So this authority gives him the right to define law. Or her, maybe. That isn't for either of us to question. She sighs. I suppose not. The bastard city used to have the laws of woman and mankind. But now we have the laws of the Overlord. The people will get accustomed to it in time, and so will I. Good day, Fightbinder. Yeah. Well done by us, of course. We have explained her the law. This lady. And what's here? Any petitioners that displeased Tunon would meet their fate in the pits below the court. Good to know, so don't get rash asking him. And wow, look at them. There's quite a lot of... There's Bitterquip. There's a bunch of disfavored here. There are some fate binders. And there's a bunch of the Scarlet Chorus. Ha! What will this become? Albitronas, Aurora. Sirius, we have spoken to Sirius before. Let's talk here.
You call yourselves officers of Kyros' army, but your conduct falls short of my expectations. The court finds your accounts of Vendrian's well lacking, rife with misdirection and fallacy, fouled with baseless accusation.
Shadows beneath Tunon's cloak darken and flare around him. Murmurs of unease erupt in the court. Let's listen. Your Honor, I have relayed the events as I experienced them. You can well imagine why my version conflicts with his. She makes a dismissive gesture to the Scarlet Chorus representative. On my honor, and on that of the great general, I would sooner snap my sword than perjure myself before you, Archon. Oh, so you imply that falsehood comes easier to my lips than yours, Bloodmark says. You're a fool if you believe the Archon of Justice won't see through your lies because the disfavored think themselves better than an honest gang.
Silence. The contradictions in your statements will be examined, and falsities threshed from truths. If we find you have perjured yourselves, Bled and Mark will see to your fate.
The Archon turns, and you feel his gaze upon you. And who's Bled and Mark? Is Kyros' knife in the shadows, the unseen drop of poison that enforces the Overlord's will? He reports to Tunon, the Educator, serving in his capacity as the final word to those who hold Kyros' law in contempt. Few know the origin of the Archon of Shadows, or how Kyros maintains a hold on him. Those who anger the Archon never live long past sunset.
Fatebinder, we will start with the matter of the Archons. Graven Ash and the Voices of Nerat have declared war upon each other. In addition to violating Kyros' peace, they have thrown the conquest of the Tears into disarray. By all accounts, these hostilities began shortly after your arrival. Tell us what transpired.
Huh. The Archons could not agree on who should lead the siege and descended into accusations of treachery. Was it that? The Archons have been of different minds since the start of his war? No. Yeah, of different minds. Well, let's not formulate it as rash. I mean, they hit each other, but they were not accusing each other of direct treachery yet.
Your perspective is appreciated, but the dispositions of the two Archons are already a matter of record. Loyal subjects of Kyros have drawn blood from each other, a cardinal crime. Something happened at Vendrian's well to trigger this feud.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. They could not agree on who should lead the siege and descended into accusations of treachery. It seemed a mutual spat. The disfavored were more deserving of the honor. Our tactics and training outmatched the Vendrian guard at every turn. What balderdash! The disfavored couldn't tip over a straw hut if they had a week to strategize. Our holding mob was better equipped to overwhelm the Vendrian guard. Our recruits were ready to throw themselves at the enemy. Only Ash and his legion would agree to a plan.
The Fatebinder presents testimony. I warn you both against speaking out of turn. Something more than a mere disagreement unraveled this campaign. But I will return to that in time. Let us speak of Ascension Hall. The disfavored sing your praises across the realm, though the Scarlet Chorus appeal for charges of treason. Perhaps you can offer a more enlightened account.
Well, I claimed the Citadel with a small unit of disfavored.
An efficient solution. The type I would expect from a capable agent. Tell me, though, with the edict looming overhead and death the price of failure, Why not employ the numerical advantage of the Scarlet Chorus?
Well, the voices of Narad provoked Ash at every turn. I suspected treachery, which we found out later by what Ebb said. I mean, they delivered information to the enemy. For a long while, the educator who hovers in silence, shadows trailing from below his robes.
I will consider this testimony at length. The court thanks you for it. Is there anything you wish to add at this time?
I mean, a lot, but I have told you all that I know.
Your testimony is accepted by the court. The statements of our guests raise questions in my mind. There is much about this campaign that has caused me to wonder. A shipment of iron weapons was short on arrival. Where coveted iron is concerned, I don't believe it to be a clerical error. One of my agents recovered this seal in Echo Call. It belongs to a merchant collective. Lethian's Crossing is teeming with their kind. If you would root out treachery, I would advise starting there. Petitioners, leave us. I would have a private audience with the Fatebinder. Ascend and join me. You will find the way opened.
Oh. Private speaking. Maybe we can still speak to the Fatebinders, let's see. Fatebinder Nunoval. Ah, Jacob, the Lord Red, you return unscathed, and more acclaimed than ever, as seems to be your way. The Fatebinder of War clasps you good-naturedly, and with excessive strength on the back. Come, you must regale me with all that your journey has held. I could use a moment of respite between friends. He regards you with a warm, boisterous smile. Speak as you wish. I'd pay a boar's weight in rings to know your thoughts. He rakes a hand through his thick red beard and offers you a grin. Come, let us speak freely. Yeah, let's talk to them a little bit. We're really curious about the laws of and the law of our law. Of our law court here. How were you singled out to become a Fatebinder, Nunoval? I cannot speak for the other Fatebinders, but I joined the court when I was yet still a boy and impetuous beyond reason. I had been imprisoned with a death sentence for the crime of desecrating corpses. It was nothing so exciting as you're no doubt imagining. I was merely burning corpses that awaited burial. Before the local authority could see me to the gallows, the educator claimed me a great talent waiting to be realized, needing only to be steered. Why burn the bodies? Corpses piling in the streets spread plague faster than the filthiest of rats. I was but 10 and a weak fighter. I did what I could for my homeland. Why was it a crime, though? There was a time when even the Northmen were of superstitious stock. A time before Kyros brought reason to the realms. The people of my city believed that without proper rites, I was cheating our fallen warriors from returning to the land. Oh, I mean, that is absolutely... It seems like we are the forces of good, the forces of reason. I don't know why Tyranny says evil has won. Kyros has won, and Kyros is reason. It seems to be the freedom of mind. It's a good thing Tunon spared you. As I've said, the educator saw within me something of rare value. As is true for us all, you as well were chosen for our great court, for which I am grateful. As the Fatebinder of War, I rely heavily on your talents. Let's talk about something else. I'm curious about the masks. They can be rather unsettling, can't they? Even to one such as me, but I can assure you the innocent need not fear their objective, emotionless gaze. What of the educator's mask specifically would you like to know? About the silent face. Silent face is the face that Tunon shows to us now. And for that we are fortunate beyond belief, the silent face is a patient face, a face for listening, as Tunon presides over all matters brought to the court, taking great pains to ensure all sides of an issue are heard. What about the Face of Resolve? Tunon's last known donning of the Face of Resolve was the moment he judged and called ruin to half the districts in the Bastard City. Since then, he has ruled our northern tier justly, calmly, and with efficient diplomacy. And the face that is no more? Tunon is said to have worn a third mask. In eons past, I have heard rumor that the face displeased Kyros, and thus was destroyed, as happens to all persons and objects that displease our overlord. Have you ever seen Tunon change his masks? In the way that you or I would change our raiment? No, not as such. And yet I have seen the masks shift. They switch without the educator or anyone so much as laying a hand on them. It's not something you can watch unfold. After a time you merely realize it has already happened. There is work enough for the court that we shouldn't occupy ourselves wondering over mysteries. Let me ask something else. Could you remind me of the history and origin of the Fatebinders? Seasoned warrior rubs a finger against the line of stubble along his cheek. We're a relatively young order, though we have spanned these past 2 centuries. While the voices of Nerat and Graven Ash need armies to execute their will, Tunon wields but a modest court of vassals. We exist as the extension of his law. There is no place in all of Terratus beyond our judgment. Tell me more about the armies of Kyros, our allies. Ah yes, with friends like these, our work is often self-explanatory. Were you asking about the Scarlet Chorus or the Disfavored? The Scarlet Chorus. Scarlet Chorus soldiers hail from every corner of every realm. As the chorus marches, it conscripts indiscriminately from those it has conquered to replenish its ranks. There's no continuity of command in the chorus. Nerat encourages even the strong to challenge their leaders. But the chorus has numbers, and brute force is almost always a viable solution, much as Rogalus insists otherwise. Besides, the Scarlet Chorus draws strength from the multitudes it swallows. Its blood chanters have taken knowledge from various tiers mystics, and many of the chorus's best soldiers were grown here in the south. About the Disfavored, on the other hand, the Disfavored are the iron tip of Kyros' great phalanx, armed with the best weapons, the most comprehensive training, and led by the brilliant Graven Ash. The Disfavored have no equals in open battle. The Legion has a saying, Graven Ash protects, and it's no empty boast. The Archon of War is able to lend his will and strength to his soldiers, and give them endurance beyond human limits. I have great respect for the Disfavored, but I know where I stand with them. They are a very close-knit band, all of them from northern families, many of them related to each other. Immanuel sighs, his smile wistful. But considering our role in the great hierarchy, I can fault General Ash for being selective. Thank you, and farewell, Immanuel. So this was about Tunon and Tunon's court. We'll surely talk to the other Fatebinders, see what they have to say, and then we'll go to Tunon in the next episode. Also, we may hear the Scarlet Chorus and the Disfavored before we speak to him. So let's see how that works out. A lot of lore after a lot of fighting now. I'm looking forward to it. This is where we learn a lot about fascinating world of Tyranny. Happy gaming to you, and see you in the next episode.